know there are some people who aren't able to be here. All right, so welcome. We're so excited to have you. My name's Megan Watt. For those that don't know me, I'm the Managing Director of Operations. And today we want to ensure you have the best possible experience with this information session. So if you can, toggle to speaker view, because that's going to let the individual speaking be the largest on your screen for your Zoom experience. So during our time together, we're going to talk about the airport. We're so excited for that departure. We're going to just run through fly rail tags and how those are going to work for everyone to ensure you have them and you know what to do with them. We're going to talk a little bit about cell phones, SIM cards, and answer your questions about mobile usage in Switzerland. We're going to touch on our Morocco trip, which is happening over the holiday time. And then we have a few other housekeeping items for everybody today. So as you have questions, if you can, please just go to the chat icon at the bottom of your screen, toggle to Beth Szymanski, our manager of student services. And if you can send her your questions directly, that would be terrific. We're going to answer them at the end. And the easiest way is going to be if you can just funnel them all to Beth, because we know there'll be some duplicate questions. So again, just click on the chat, select Beth, and then send her any questions you have. You can send them at any point through our presentation today. So I do want to just mention the amazing team members that are here today with us. So we have our head of school, Andrew Keelaher. We have our director of admissions, Dorit Tepperman. We have our director of advancement, Robin Balanik. We have our manager of student services, Beth Szymanski, and we have our coordinator of admissions and marketing, Lauren Harrison. So everyone is here and we're here to support. So if you do have any other questions that we can support you directly with, don't hesitate to chat directly to us. But any of those general Q&As, please send them to Beth. All right, at this point, I want to invite Mr. Keelaher just to welcome you and to tell you a little bit more about the orientation trip that you'll be embarking on in less than 2 weeks.
Thank you, Megan. Hello, everybody. Good to see you. Greetings from Switzerland, actually. I'm not in Neuchâtel, but I'm in central Switzerland doing a little bit of hiking before all you students come to Neuchâtel in just a couple of weeks. I can't believe it's already upon us. So I hope you're enjoying your summers. That's important too. You've perhaps done some traveling with your family or friends, or you've relaxed a little bit, at least after a long school year. I know it's always necessary to recharge those batteries, however you like to do that. So all I can say is I'm pretty excited. My family actually is excited that you're coming, and the staff I've communicated to via email, because they're sort of in various stages of coming back to Switzerland from. Most are coming back from Canada, of course. So they're all excited too. So as Megan said, we are in the throes of planning the orientation trip, which happens when you arrive. I know you will have flown through the night, and then we meet you at the Zurich airport. I believe it's the Wednesday morning right after Labor Day, or a couple of days after. And so the orientation trip is a nice way to start the year, because we show students a little piece of Switzerland, a couple of different pieces actually. So we start the week in Grindelwald for a few days. I'll come back and talk about that, and then we end the 6 days in Locarno, which is in the canton of Ticino, the southernmost canton, very close to the Italian border, actually. But we start this year in Grindelwald. Sometimes it goes back and forth depending on the bookings. And so we'll arrive there, and I mean, I won't go through everything, but it's all very, very exciting. You know, we do a little hike in the Alps, not right away or anything like that. I think I remember actually talking to a number of you via Zoom when we had one of these sessions. I'm going to say it was in June. And I think I talked about the Eiger and the Monk and the Jungfrau, and asking you to picture these mountains. Well, it's these three sort of all-star mountains that will showcase themselves when we get to Grindelwald in just a couple of weeks. And we'll take a look at all three when we're there in very close-up fashion. We do something called the Alpine Games, and I'll just leave it at that for now, and a Glacier Gorge walk, which is interesting too, a little bit chilly, even if it is in early September. And then the Locarno leg of the trip is, really sunny and nice weather and good food, because as I mentioned, it is close to Italy. So You know, there's no shortage of good Italian food, in moderation, of course, ladies and gentlemen. You know, this year we've added a boat cruise to the itinerary, so I'm a little curious to see how that will go. It looks like it's going to be pretty beautiful, actually. And then the only other thing I'll mention, I guess, on the trip is that all of you students will have a chance to meet with the guidance team, Ms. Prasad and Mr. Phillips, just to go through your courses initially. I mean, there's more of that happens when we get back to Neuchâtel, but they'll check in with you too during the week. Just to go through some of that as well. And I know Dorit, who I'm going to turn things over to here in a moment, she's going to be on the flight with all of you. So that's good. Good to have Dorit back on the orientation trip and back in Neuchâtel for a few days. And so I'm glad that she's going to be able to join you. And then, you know, when we wrap up the trip, we head back to Neuchâtel, and there's all kinds of exciting things that happened later in the month of September. Of course, you'll meet your pension families, and we have different excursions early on in the school year for students. Of course, we start classes, a few assemblies to go over this and that that you might expect at the onset of a school year. Something to look forward to is called Des Alpes, which is sort of like the best translation I can use is like de-alping. With a hyphen in there. It's when the cows come down off the mountains in the Alps, we call it Des Alpes. And so there's quite a few festivals around Switzerland to celebrate this particular event, and we're going to take you to one later on in the month. So I'll get too busy talking about all kinds of other things, so I better turn things over. Oh, the Canadian consul, actually, from Bern, who works side by side with the Canadian ambassador to Switzerland. He will be joining us to talk to you students later in the month as well. So it's always interesting when he's able to pop in and talk to the students. So there you go. There's a quick little bit from me. Really excited to meet all of you. I know I did meet some of you when I was back in Toronto. Sadly, was not able to meet some of you West Coasters. So I look forward to meeting all of you. And if there's anything I can do in the meantime, feel free to reach out. But you're in great hands with Megan and her team. Look forward to seeing you. And I'll throw things over to Dorit. Go ahead, Dorit.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. I'm thrilled and excited for our travel day. So I'll be providing lots of information, and there will be an email that will come with all the details. So there's no need to take notes. I feel like a teacher now, but I'll take us through each sort of plan for the 4 groups of students who are arriving in Zurich, I guess, as we start our orientation trip. So group 1 of those students who will be traveling on the bus from the school building on the morning of September the 6th with the staff coming to the Zurich airport. So you know who you are, you've all been given that information, and they are to arrive between 7 and 7:30, and you're welcome to leave your extra luggage at the school building that you're not taking on the orientation trip, and then you will board the bus with the faculty and staff who are joining the orientation trip and travel to the Zurich airport, where you will be welcoming the group coming from Canada. The second group is group 2, and those are the people who are traveling directly from Toronto Pearson Airport on Air Canada Flight 880. That is most of the students. On the Tuesday, the 5th, our flight leaves at 8:45 from Terminal 1. We ask that you check in online the day before and arrange and pay for all your extra luggage ahead of time, so there isn't that to deal with at the airport when you arrive. We will be waiting for the families. We ask that you arrive at 5:30. Our team will be there from 4:30 on. After parking, you are going to go to the departures lounge. So you need to cross the bridge, go upstairs to departures, and you will find our desk by aisle 1. So in the far end of the departure lounge, where we will have a banner and a table, and we will welcome you and hand out to all the students their name tags and their lanyards with the families together. Okay, once the group is gathered, and like I said, it's quite a large group. We're about 40 students traveling from Toronto Pearson directly. We're going to proceed together and check in as a group. So we've actually visited the airport and met with a manager for Air Canada, and they have asked us to gather as a group and check in together. They prefer that in terms of processing us and our luggage. So all the luggage goes in one container to Zurich. So what they will do is they will have extra agents available to help at the kiosks, and hopefully also a check-in desk for us that will allow the families who do want to speak to an individual to check in together. Okay, so if anyone has any questions about that, I'm happy to take those at the end. If you do arrive at the airport late and we've already started the check-in, Ms. Watt and Ms. Balanick will be there and they will help students, get to where they need to be. But ideally, we're all there by 5:30 and we start the check-in process together. Once we've gathered, we are going to proceed to the security. Security is where gates E are. That's the international gates for Air Canada, and that's where we're going to go through. And we have said goodbye to everybody already, and we're on our way. Once we are all through security, gather at the gate for the Zurich flight. So that is typically the same gate every day, but obviously the airline can't guarantee it'll be. So we will check that ahead of time. We will all know on the day what gate we're meeting at. And I ask that everybody proceed with me to the gate and check in with me so I know that you're all there. This is for all the students who are only flying through the Toronto airport and meeting us and going through security together, okay? And if anyone is planning on leaving the area where we're waiting, you have to let me know. I think the big piece here is to communicate so we all know where everybody is at all times. Now for the group that is arriving from other destinations into the Toronto airport and will be flying with us on the AC-880. So we have students coming from Montreal, from Vancouver and Edmonton. You're all arriving somewhere between 4:30 and 5:30. When you arrive, please text Ms. Watt. You will receive her phone number ahead of time and let her know that you have arrived and that you're in the terminal building so that we know you're there. And then you're going to proceed to the E-gate where the flight to Zurich will be leaving. And we'll have that information to you at that time. We're all going to meet together as a group. Again, you're going to check in with me. You're going to let me know if you're leaving the gate area at any time and when you're coming back. All right. So Air Canada has actually put a note on our flight that there is a large group checking in together, and they're going to allow us to board together as a group, which is great, which means we can all know that everybody is on the flight. We are going to be invited to board after those passengers in Zone 1 and Zone 2 have boarded. It's a pre-boarding announcement. I'll make sure that they're aware the name of our group. I'll let you all know. Those students who have paid to board with group 1 or 2, just let me know. If you prefer to board with the group, you're more than welcome. If you prefer to board on your own, you just need to make me aware that you are on the flight so that I know everybody's on there. Okay. Then we're going to obviously fly to Zurich, which will be lots of fun, and arrive. So I would suggest everyone who can tries to sleep on that flight because we have a very busy orientation trip when you arrive. I know there's lots of nerves and excitement. I don't know how many people are sitting together and so on, but when we arrive at the airport in Zurich, we're all going to deplane and wait where, as soon as you enter into the terminal building as a group, again, you will all check in with me that everybody is there, and then we'll proceed as a group on a short train ride to passport control. At that point, we will go through passport control. I'll be the last person to go through. I'll make sure that everybody gets through. Everyone has their visas in their passports and all the documents that they need to have. We will then meet at the luggage carousel where the luggage will be coming off for our flight, and we will all collect our luggage together. And I will check again that everybody is there, and then we will exit the area, the restricted area, and meet Mr. Keeler and the remainder of the staff. Okay. There is another group, a small group of students who are flying directly to Zurich that day. They're arriving on the 6th. Some of them are arriving as early as 6 in the morning, some around 8:30. What you're going to do is when you arrive, you will text Mr. Keeler and let him know that you have arrived in Zurich, and then you will find where the Air Canada flight is arriving from Toronto, and you will join the group there. And we will have all of us gathered together, and we'll proceed from there on the orientation trip. Again, stay in touch. If you're running late, if your flight is late or delayed, if you're late getting to the airport for whatever reason, just make sure that we are all aware of where you are. And I'm happy to take any questions regarding travel arrangements. Again, it'll all be provided in an email, and you can read it at your leisure and so on. That's it. Thanks.
Thanks so much, Mrs. Tepperman. You are all in great hands because Mrs. Tepperman took the group last year, and she is a pro at getting everyone through security at the Toronto side and back through again out at Zurich, and it all does go very smoothly. So when you are getting your luggage ready to go, a really important thing to ensure you have attached is your fly rail tag. If you are intending to take any luggage over one piece, so you're allowed one piece on the orientation trip, everything else needs a fly rail tag so that it'll go directly to Neuchâtel. You will not have to collect that bag in Zurich. It'll automatically go on a train, head to Neuchâtel. It'll be locked securely and ready for your arrival back in Neuchâtel at the end of the orientation trip. So you should, at this point, have received your fly rail tags through Express Post. It will have a letter that explains how to complete the fly rail tag document. Please do that before you depart. It's very simple. It looks like this. It folds. It asks you for your name. The address that you're going to put is the school's address, which you can find on this piece of paper. So you're going to put the school's address here, and then you're going to put your airport of departure and your flight. Remember, this has been purchased for those of you who have connecting flights, but ultimately are taking 880, the flight from Toronto to Zurich. That's the flight that this tag is associated to, because that's the flight that it's landing in Zurich. So you would be putting that flight on this tag, not any other connecting flight you may have from Calgary or from Vancouver on this tag. This then gets attached to your bag. Please do that before you come to the airport, and ensure it is attached and ready to go for checking in your bags at your initial destination. If you have started packing and you're going, oh no, I have more luggage than I anticipated. Number one, we would encourage you, see if you can comb through it, take a few things out. You need much less than you think you need. But if you can't, then just pop me an email and I will bring you, and if you're coming to Toronto, I can bring you an extra fly rail tag to Pearson Airport. If you're going from a different destination, I can send you another fly rail tag. So if you do need more than what you have in your possession right now that you've started packing, please just let me know. We don't have an infinite number, but we do have a few extras. All right, so any fly rail tag questions, I'm happy to answer at the end of our session, but I'm going to pass it over now to Beth, and she's going to talk a little bit about cell phones, SIM cards, and calling home from Switzerland.
Hi, everybody. So I just have 3 quick tips and tricks for students on their cell phones. The first is that students should bring an unlocked cell phone with them to Switzerland. So if they've bought that cell phone directly from their provider, like Apple, it should be unlocked. If they bought it from their service provider, like Rogers or Bell, then you should just check with them to make sure that it is unlocked. The second is that we have confirmed that the students will be receiving their SIM cards upon arrival in Switzerland. So that's great news. And lastly, we think parents will be especially happy about this one. Students will be able to call Canada and EU countries from Switzerland with their plan. So they will be able to stay in touch right off the bat. They will receive the full details of their plan when they get their SIM cards. So they'll receive a lot more information about that when they get their SIM cards. And that's it for me. And if you have any questions, feel free to send it to me in the chat. And I think Lauren is next.
Perfect. Yeah, thanks, Beth. We're going to pass it over to Lauren about our Morocco service trip and our parent directory.
Yeah, hi everyone. We're so excited to be offering a service trip to Morocco with the licensed travel organization Insight Global Education over the holiday break. And the trip will run from December 22nd, 2023 until January 6th, 2024. And so the cost will be somewhere between $4,000 and $5,000 with the exact price communicated once our group size is confirmed. But this is an all-inclusive price, and we do need 10 students to make the trip happen. So we'll have the students fly into Casablanca and travel into the Sahara Desert. And the trip also includes service learning, which involves volunteer initiatives with a partner school. It'll be an amazing, unique experience, and we encourage you to explore more about the detailed itinerary, because we'll be sharing this with the recording that comes from this session. And if your student is interested in participating, please let us know by email or responding to the Google form that will also be included in the follow-up email. And we look forward to any of your questions. It'll be an absolutely life-changing experience, I think. And another reminder is to please complete the parent directory consent form that was sent out last week. We published the parent contact information that you decide to share with us, if you choose to share any, at the beginning of the year, and this allows you to communicate with other parents.
Thanks so much, Lauren. And on the parent directory, if you prefer your information is not shared, we'd ask you still fill out the consent form and just tick the box that you don't want any information shared so that we know that that's the case. We're going to move on now to our question and answer period. So Beth, I think you have some questions there potentially.
I do have a couple questions already. So one is regarding the fly rail tags and the number of luggage that students can bring on the orientation trip.
Yes, absolutely. So you can bring one piece of luggage on the orientation trip, and everything else does have to have a fly rail tag attached to it so that it can go directly to Neuchâtel. The reason behind this is because we are taking a bus on the orientation trip. There's only so much luggage space on that bus. Plus, hotels in Switzerland are not always as big as hotels may be here. And so there isn't as much room as your sharing room, you know, to have a whole bunch of luggage in the room with you. Plus, you're not going to want to drag it around with you all around Switzerland. So one piece of luggage may come on the orientation trip. Everything else needs a fly rail tag, and that will go straight to Neuchâtel. Does that answer the question, Beth?
Yeah, I believe so. We have another question about sort of irregular items, specifically guitars, and what's the best way for students to bring those to Neuchâtel?
Yeah, great question. So my thinking is fly rail tag likely for those, but Mrs. Tepperman, did anyone bring their guitar on the orientation trip last year?
I don't believe so. I think they went through to the Neuchâtel train station. Yeah, I think you'll have to check that separately too as another item. It might be best to consult with the airline on how to pack that.
Yeah.
So
I might just add, since we're talking about guitars, we do have 2 brand new guitars, acoustic guitars at the school, and they get used frequently. But in case you know, those of you who play guitar, you know, you're obviously welcome to use them and save you the need to bring your own guitar. Up to you.
Thank you. I'm just seeing too here, there's some clarity. People are looking for some clarity. So you're allowed one piece of luggage. You are allowed a backpack. So you can have a backpack and a piece of luggage on the orientation trip. And skis must go straight to Neuchâtel with a fly rail tag on them. They cannot go on the orientation trip. So skis, if you're bringing a bike, and it's that needs to go straight through. Although we do recommend renting skis in Neuchâtel for the season. It's very economical and can make things much easier, especially getting them home at the end of the year. And also, it is quite a hilly place. So if you're considering a bicycle, you may not need that as well. You can rent most sporting equipment there. Sorry, Beth, next question.
That's okay. So we have some questions about the SIM plan, specifically the cost. So it is 200 CHF per semester, and it is charged directly to the student sundry. So you don't need to pay anything in advance for that. Then we also have some more questions about what luggage we recommend for people to bring on their trips, if it's bags, if it's rolly bags. We've had that question a few times. I don't know if anybody can give some advice on that.
Mr. Kelleher, any tips on what luggage is best?
Sure. Yeah, a regular suitcase, you know, with wheels and a handle, you know, big suitcase that you would have to check under in a plane, that you wouldn't, you know, that not a carry-on. That would be fine. And I think, you know, a backpack to go along with that, for sure, of course, is okay too. You know, Megan's right, space is an issue on the bus, but normally students would bring like a regular suitcase for the orientation trip.
Okay, that sounds good. Okay, we do have, there's another question about ski rentals in town. So I'm not sure if anybody has that
What's the
information.
question?
Mr.
What's the question, Beth?
Will most people rent? Do people bring
Yeah.
skis?
Well, to answer the question, most people don't rent, but they should. So let's put it this way. There's like the ski season, for the most part, starts around like November. There's a few students that go skiing here and there on the weekends in Switzerland, like a little bit in November, not much. And then, you know, honestly, like I think we have a trip in December on one of the weekends. And then the next thing you know, it's the holidays. So there's not a lot of skiing that happens in the first semester. Well, sorry, before the holidays, right? So the long and the short of renting is this. There's I shouldn't mention certain companies over others, but I know that you can rent skis for the season starting in November, and they are due back, I believe. I used to do this, but I don't anymore. Every spring on April 30th. And the students that have rented have gotten them back well before April 30th in the past. I remember one guy I had to sort of like grab by the ear to make sure that he didn't forget his to return his skis. But the point is, that April 30th date is obviously well before the students go home. So there's, it works out quite nicely. And, I think it saves a lot of hassle. If you really do want to bring your skis, might I suggest that you bring them after the holidays? But again, up to you. But the rental is really easy. You do have to go down and sort of size yourself up with the boots and everything. But you get everything right away, and it works out rather well.
Great, thank you. And we have a couple questions here about flights. So about just whether or not people should be booking their flights now to return to Neuchâtel, and if they should be using the travel agent. Everybody is totally welcome to book on their own or use Suzanne Sherman at Direct Travel. She is able to help you though book your return flight. She has all the dates and she has all the information. So it's a choice up to you. And I think that's most of our questions.
I have had some questions come, so I'm just going to answer them quickly. Question about the checklist of what you need in orientation. That will come in. I think it was actually in the orientation itinerary. There is a mention there of what you should book. Somebody asked about clothing and footwear for the orientation. So there are kind of like two different climates we're going to. It can rain. It probably does rain. I know last year I wore a thick sweatshirt and then also wore shorts because we go to two different parts of Switzerland. So just bring flexible and layers and rain gear for sure. That if you bring it, we won't need it. So that's a good thing. Somebody else asked about Swiss francs. So on arrival, the students get some cash for their lunches that they then use throughout the orientation trip. So I don't think, Mr. Keeler, would you advise bringing your own cash, or what do you think would be the best recommendation?
Yeah. I mean, if you can get your hands on some Swiss francs before you come, I suppose that's fine. Just do the lunches, all the dinners we have on the orientation trip we have together, so it's not an issue for dinner, and breakfast are at the hotels as well. And so Dorit's right about the lunch, but I guess I do see students like they'll pop into the odd store and grab something. I'm not sure, like they're using cards most of the time rather than cash. But if you want to bring some, I wouldn't bring a whole lot, but there's the answer.
Great, thank you. I have a few questions here as well. So curiosity about when students, so every student will get a Neuchâtel email address. I believe that happens the first day of school. Is that right, Mr. Kelleher?
First
on
day
or
or two.
about? Yeah. So that'll happen on or about the first day of school, which is September 12th. So in that week, they'll get their email address from our IT support. That's a question. And then when should they anticipate departing Neuchâtel in June? So many students opt to depart with their families after graduation. So the graduation's on the Friday. Students do have to be out of their pension family by Sunday. So if they're traveling independently, then Sunday would probably be a good day to depart. But if families are there, often they travel together back home. And they're welcome to, some families choose to travel other places. They just have to be out of their pension room by the Sunday. All right. Beth, do we have any more questions?
We just have one more about the unlocking of the cell phones. So basically that is just if you have bought the cell phone directly from a provider. So if you've bought it from Apple or Samsung, then it should be unlocked. If you've bought it from a service provider like Rogers or Bell, then you do need to check with them just to make sure it's unlocked, and they will be able to help you with that if it's not. Most phones in Canada are unlocked.
Yeah, and the easiest way maybe just to go to your local store and take your phone and ask them, and they're able to answer that question for you. Unfortunately, we don't know because different providers do it different ways. So we aren't sure if the phone's unlocked or not. All right. At this point, we just want to say a big thank you to each of you for joining us. We will be sending out an email over the next 48 hours to all of those families who still have some forms or documents to complete. That might be the requirement for us to get a transcript from your current school. It might be your medical form. It might be your university plans form. So you will get a list of the documents that are outstanding, and it's important that we receive those before departure in just less than 2 weeks. So you'll get that email from Beth in the next couple of days to your family. So thank you all so much for joining us, and we cannot wait for departure day and to see all of you at the airport in Toronto, or hear about your travels and see the pictures of you absolutely loving your first few days in Switzerland. Thank you, and have a great rest of the day.
Nice to see everyone. Thanks, Megan. Thanks, everyone.